Thank you. Children, there's a sheet of paper. We haven't forgotten you. Gracie, we're going to call you up in a few minutes, but we're going to do something special first. And children, just before I actually start the sermon, I'll give you the word that I'm going to repeat, hopefully many, many, many times. It's a special day today. There are many special days on our yearly calendar, but I think the day that is the most special to me and tops it all is Mother's Day. I remember the times with my mom, how many times she'd pull me aside and just say, Robert, I'm praying for you. She's gone, she's resting in the Lord, and I miss her prayers. And I miss my mother. My wife is a good mother and a good wife. She made sure to remind me to give you a message, and the message is simple. Tell all the folks present that there is a fellowship lunch today. Please stay. That's a mother's plea to a church. Please stay, mix with us, and stay a while. Don't rush off after you've eaten. Stay, fellowship. The Weavers can only get here about 2:30, so we'd like you just to not run away, but stay, talk, we'll sing songs, we'll share testimonies, we'll do whatever we can to fill in the time until they arrive so that you can be sure to be here for that meeting. I don't think you'd want to miss it. So please stay for the afternoon meeting. Now they tell us that the quickest way for a mother to get her children's attention, do you know what she needs to do? Just sit down and be comfortable. We want to take this opportunity to acknowledge and pay tribute to our mothers. So I'm going to ask my wife and Donna to come forward. If you can just wait a while here next to me before you do anything. Now they say women know most things that happen in the family. What's going to happen right now, my wife has no clue. I just want to read something of a tribute to my wife. Sweetheart, I give you this rose, which is the middle of your 3 names. I'm sure that those of you who know Esme know that the value of this woman for me, for my church, she is the first mother of Triadelphia Church. She has been my wife and mother of my 2 children, grandmother of 6 grandchildren. She is the mother of this congregation. And she has taught and trained her children to walk in the Lord, and all of them are faithful to Him today. I must mention the obligation that she has for this church that is under her, for a watch care over each one of you, a prayers every morning for you as a church, her church. Also prayers and watch care over me my health, of which she so diligently cares and cheers under many trials. She reminds me of my duties and then encourages me in their performance. How much also do my family owe to her, and why they call her blessed? It is truly an honor to call her blessed of the Lord. Please accept the rose as a token of all our gratitude to you. Now, we're not going to leave the other mothers out. We've asked Donna and Esme to bring the roses forward, and they will be right here up front. And then we're going to ask every child and every husband and every man and even some ladies who have mothers and would like to take a rose and collect a rose, please come forward. And we're hoping that the children will give the roses to their mothers, also to the elderly of our church. They need a rose. It doesn't mean that you have to be a mother. The rose is for every lady in our church. We just want to say we love you all. Rick, it's for you, for your memory of your mom. Is there a lady in our congregation that has not received a rose? We don't want to miss any lady. My wife and Donna will walk around. Don't be shy. Put up your hand. We've got them. We don't want them to just be here. We want them to be used. If there is a mother sick in hospital somewhere, please feel free to take a rose for her. And I wonder if you could just take a rose and give one to Gerhard in memory of Maureen. Don, did you get one for your wife? All right. Oh, she's hiding behind you. I didn't see her. Thank you, ladies. Gracie, do you have the names of those who got the word for the last sermon? Come right forward. Come stand here.
Just a little note before I say the winners. I wanted to say thank you to the parents that encouraged their kids to participate in this. And I want to say thank you to the young people and the young at heart who actually do participate in this game. So thank you. And for now, the winners. Charlotte Dill, Joyce Ludi, Charlie Thomas, Miss Peggy, Grace C. Thomas, DJ, Theron, Ethan, Callie, Sunny, Vicky, and Samuel Green. Please come up.
Thank you, Gracie. We really appreciate what you're doing. Got one disappointed customer. He wanted more. Boys and girls, the word that you've got to hear, that I'll be repeating many times this morning, is the word mother. Mother. Every time your mother nudges you, you know that I've just said mother. So we'll start from now. Genesis 3:20 simply tells us that Adam called his wife Eve because she was the mother of all living. What a text. We know that Paul admired both mother and granny of Timothy, to which he commends them, for Lewis and her mother Eunice. Today we'll be mainly focusing just a little bit on three mothers. The name is Sarah, Mary, and predominantly Hannah. Now Hannah was a lady, a woman of prayer. There is a text in Matthew 21:22 that simply says, all things, how many? You don't sound convinced. Let's say it again. All things. Folks, you're wasting your time praying if you don't believe. All things, whatsoever you shall ask in prayer, believing he shall receive. Oh, folks, not some things, all things. Now we know that Hannah's husband had a second wife. Her name was Peninnah. She had a cruel tongue. She could be vicious. She could be cutting. She knew how to hurt. And Hannah was the softer, more sensitive of the two wives. And every year when they went down and sacrificed in Jerusalem, it always tore Hannah's heart and broke her, because Peninnah would go with her children and she would be on her own. If you live in a country where motherhood is very important, you will know and understand what Hannah felt. When my daughter was in Peru for the first time, she tried many times to fall pregnant, but to avail. Things happened, and she never gave birth. The ladies in Peru were always very friendly, cordial, but there was always a distance between her and the other mothers. You see, she wasn't a mother, and there was that distance. But the day that she fell pregnant and the day that she had Hannah, her first child, things changed. Suddenly, she was a mother, and all the ladies seemed to accept her. Stories told of a shepherd who tried to induce these sheep to cross a rather fast-flowing river. And if you know sheep, they don't drink at flowing water, and definitely they don't cross a river that is flowing. They like still waters. But the shepherd knew that it was important to get to the other side, and he would coax and he would push and he would try and drive his sheep across, but they refused. They were too scared. They wouldn't go. And suddenly he had a real bright idea. He went over and he grabbed one of the lambs away from its mother that was cuddled so close. He took the lamb and put the lamb in his arms, and as he walked, the little one would bleat out, and the mother would answer, and she'd come following him, and he would walk. And he came to the river, and he started walking through the river, holding the lamb, and at first the mother stood there crying for her little one, and the lamb would be crying back, and she was too scared. The rest of the sheep were just watching until she couldn't take it anymore, and she did what mothers do. She's there to rescue, she's there to protect, she's there to be a blessing as a mother, and she dared the fast-flowing waters and followed the shepherd across to the other side, where she was reunited with her little one. But as that mother walked out across the water, the other sheep watched and saw her going, and like sheep do, they follow other sheep, and eventually the whole flock crossed the river to the other side. But it took a mother, and it took a mother's love. An animal, yes, but it took a mother's love for her lamb to get across to the other side. You see, Hannah's attitude, though small in stature, though weak in temperament, she had a strength of a true woman. Mary, the mother of Jesus, too, was a woman of strength. Unlike Hannah, she did not wish or want a child at that point in time. But I want you to note how the two react to the news that they are to be mothers. But before we do that, I'd just like to share with you a little quote that I've found. The difference between a strong woman versus a woman of strength. There's a big difference. A strong woman works out every day to keep her body in shape. But a true woman of strength is one who kneels in prayer to keep her soul in shape. A strong woman isn't afraid of anything, but a true woman of strength shows courage in the midst of her fear. A strong woman won't let anyone get the best of her, but a true woman of strength gives the best of herself to everyone. A strong woman walks sure-footedly, but a true woman of strength knows that God will catch her when she falls. A strong woman wears the look of confidence on her face, but a true woman of strength wears grace. A strong woman has faith that she is strong enough for the journey, but a true woman of strength has faith that it is in the journey itself where she becomes strong. Oh, folks, don't be a strong woman. Be a woman of strength. In 1 Samuel 1, 13-16, we capture the prayer of Hannah. Tells us, verse 13, now Hannah spoke in her heart. Only her lips moved. Her voice was not heard. Ever been in a situation that grief and pain and hurt is so strong that you cannot verbally speak it? So her lips would move, but her voice was quiet. Therefore Eli thought that she was drunk. So Eli said to her, how long will you be drunk? Put wine away from you. And Hannah answered and said, no, my Lord, I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor intoxicating drink, but I have poured out my soul before the Lord. Do not consider your maidservant a wicked woman, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief I have spoken until now. Oh, what a beautiful place to empty your heart out when it's before God. No one can understand you truly right down, deep down, like God can. This is a lovely passage we shared at prayer meeting on Wednesday, taken from the book Steps to Christ, page 93. This shook me. And I'm going to read it very slowly so that it hopefully will shake you too. When I prayed, I thought I had it all together until I read this. She says through nature, revelation, through his providence, and by the influence of his Spirit, God speaks to us. How many things? Let me repeat it. Through nature, revelation, his providence, and by the influence of his Spirit. How many fingers? 4. How many of us are using 4 fingers when we pray? Seriously. But, she says, these are not enough. That's what shook me. Those 4 items that we seek so much in our prayer, they are not enough. We need also, here it is, we need also to pour out our hearts to him. Hannah was pouring out her heart to God. But these are not enough. We need also to pour out our hearts to him. In order to have spiritual life and energy, we must have actual intercourse with our Heavenly Father. Our minds may be drawn out toward him. We may meditate upon his words, his mercy, his blessings. But this is not, in the fullest sense, enough. Communing with him. In order to commune with God, we must have something to say to him concerning our actual life. Serious words. Prayer is the opening of the heart to God as a friend. Prayer does not bring God down to us, but brings us up to him. And standing there in that temple, a mother's heart was just opened up to its fullest. She was expressing to God, she was telling God the deepest longings of her heart. She was expressing it openly, not in words that she couldn't say, but it was there. And God saw, God heard, and God answered. Look at three mothers-to-be and their reaction. Their reaction when they were told that the desires of their heart would be answered. The first one that comes to mind, of course, and you know well, Sarah. She was sitting in a tent and Abraham entertaining three guests, and they turned around and they said, Sarah, when we come back and see her again, she will be with child. And it tells us she laughed. She laughed. It's the first time the word laugh appears in the Bible. We find that in Genesis 17:17, 18:10. It's when God informs a 100-year-old man and a 90-year-old woman that they will have a son, a child. Both Abraham and Sarah laughed heartily. Impossible. God commanded Abraham to name his son Isaac, which simply means in the Hebrew, laugh. Sarah laughs. Abraham laughs. The son is named laugh. And God has the last laugh. Because God is capable of fulfilling what he says. Mary. The angel tells Mary exactly what's going to happen. And Mary cries out these beautiful words. Behold the maidservant of the Lord. Let it be to me according to your word. And the angel departed from her. No wonder, out of all the women of the world, God chose Mary. As hard to believe, not knowing a man, that she would bear a child, she says, if it's God's will, let it be. And she was willing to take it. Oh, folks, can we be like that mother? Can you understand why God chose Mary to be the mother of Jesus? And when Hannah was told that she will be granted her wish, she goes back home and she says, let your maidservant find favor in your eyes. Then the woman went away and ate, and her countenance was no longer sad. Isn't that beautiful? Three women. One laughed, thought it impossible. The other said, Lord, if it's your will, you can do it. And Hannah walks away totally content, eats, and becomes totally normal and happy because of a promise. She trusted God. Oh, mothers, God's looking for mothers in this world to be like Hannah, to be like Mary. Then let's quickly look at what happened after the children came. After the birth of the child that these mothers had, life was so different. And it's very different today. I came across this little statement, and it's a little cynical, but it makes us stop and think. What the single woman today hears. Why don't you get out more? You'll never meet someone sitting at home. God has a man for you. Ever heard that before? What the married woman hears. So, when are you going to start a family? What the stay-at-home mother hears. What do you do all day? What the working mothers hear. Now tell me, who takes care of your kids while you're at work? Mothers, it simply says, whatever you do, someone is about to criticize you. Because we never can ever understand the complexity of a mother. Mary, Jesus' mother, and I found this in the book, How Dare You Judge Us, God, by Clifford Goldstein. Talking about the birth of Jesus, he says, though he, Jesus, was God, yet in his new role as a baby, his mother had become his first human teacher. From her lips and from the scrolls of the prophets, he learned the spiritual truth that he had taught to ancient Israel centuries before. The words which he had spoken to a nation amid the fire and lightning of Mount Sinai, he now learned at his mother's knee. The God who revealed to Job his own creative majesty and splendor was now dependent upon his mother to read to him that which he himself inspired. What a task. What a task for a stay-at-home mom. What a task Mary had in training and teaching the baby Jesus. What a responsibility was placed in the hands of the motherhood of Mary. Hannah's example is just as encouraging for every mother. From Shiloh, Hannah quietly returned to her home at Ramah, leaving the child Samuel to be trained for service in the house of God under the instruction of the high priest. From the earliest dawn of intellect, she had taught her son to love and reverence God and to regard himself as the Lord's. By every familiar object surrounding him, she had sought to lead his thoughts always up to the Creator. When she separated from a child, the faithful mother's solitude did not cease. Every day he was the subject of her prayers. Every year she made with her own hands a robe of service for him. And as she went up with her husband to worship in Shiloh, she gave the child every year a reminder of her love. Every fiber of the little garment had been woven with the prayer that he might be pure, noble, and true. She did not ask for her son's worldly greatness, but she earnestly pleaded that he might attain that greatness which heaven values, that he might honor God and bless his fellow man. And Samuel grew to be one of the greatest prophets and leaders in Israel. Oh, thank you for a mother that never gave up. Richard Knoll was a great missionary, and he was returning from an overseas trip where he was there for 40 years. And he got into his old family home and found his old bed and fell into it and was asleep. Early hours of the morning, the sun was coming through, and the light just caught a chair in his room. And suddenly his mind was taken back way past 40 years. Because his mom would come to him, and she would sit in that chair. And as he woke up in the morning, she would say these words, "Richard, my boy, come kneel, that your mother may pray with you." And as he saw the chair, he said he couldn't do anything but climb out of the bed, go to the chair, fall at the foot of the chair, and with tears he wept. Not tears of sadness, but tears of joy. And he prayed to God. Thank you, Lord, for such a mother who had started him in such a course and whose memory had been as a guiding guardian angel all their life. Mothers, wow. What a responsibility. What a task. Both Hannah and Mary got their sons at a very, very high cost. It tells us that when Hannah brought a child to the temple, and she had trained him for those 12 years. It says, verse 24, 1 Samuel 1. Now when she had weaned him and took him up with her, she took 3 bulls, an ephah of flour, a skin of wine, and brought him to the house of the Lord in Shiloh. And the child was young. We know Mary came. She couldn't afford the bulls. And all that she could afford was 2 doves. But she brought all she had to give to God. Oh, what gratefulness is experienced here. I'm told that 2 little girls and a boy went with their mother to a cinema. She was taking them for a treat. And as they came to the ticket office at the cinema, the little girl was watching as mother took 2 $20 bills, handed it over, and got the tickets. And they went inside. A few days later, the girls one Sunday went to church. And as they were sitting down in the church, the deacons came around with a plate. And mother quickly dove into her purse and she pulled out $2 and dropped it in the plate going by. And the little girl's watching all this, and she looked at mother and said, Mother, it looks like it's cheaper to come to church than to go to the cinema. What lesson was being taught? But for Hannah, it was so different. For the cost was even greater. For in verse 27 she says, For this child I prayed, and the Lord has granted me my petition, of which I asked him. Therefore also I have lent him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he shall be lent to the Lord. So they worshipped the Lord there. She went home, and you can imagine year after year making him these garments. She was lonely, she was missing him. Lord blessed her with more, but she was still missing her child. Thank you, Lord, for dirty hands that touch my stove and my fridge, for sticky little fingers that try to build a bridge, for careless hands that go astray in search of something new, for hands to hold and show the way as mothers often do, for precious little hands in which great faith so abounds, for silly little hands that reach to touch a mother's frown. And thank you for your guiding hand that leads me to the light, that lifts me when I stumble and points me to the right. As little hands reach out to me to show them what to do, I'm steadied, reassured, and loved as I reach up to you. God blesses Hannah with more children. But she was extremely proud of her son. We're reminded of a mother going to a graduation. It cost a fortune to get into college. And now he was graduating, and she was so proud. And her son was such a good boy. And at the graduation service, he received his honors. He came off the stage. He came down to where mother was, and he took the honor and gave it to her and pinned it on her chest. And somebody passing by looked and said to her, "He did well, didn't he? You must be awfully proud of him." And before she could answer, he answered, "I know." "Ah, yes," the young man answered, "but not half so proud as is of his mother." Today we want to give tribute to our mothers. My mother is not here to receive her tribute, but she'll be always honored by her memory. For there's no greater task or demand for any woman than to be a good mother. And if you're a good mother, there is nothing in the world that can exceed that command. I was in Swaziland, and I went to the marketplace. And there she was sitting, one of my church members, and she's selling a drink that the black folk, it's a traditional drink that they love. It's a type of sour milk drink. And she would make it every day, and every day she'd be in the market and she would sell this drink. I went to her house. It's sticks. It's sticks taken, woven together to make a wall. The outside mud is taken and pushed into the sticks and then smoothed to give it an outside appearance. Newspapers would be collected and newspapers would be plastered on the inside of the wall to give it insulation and warmth. The floors were swept regularly and then sprinkled with a little bit of water to harden and be hardened. That was her home. No electricity, no water. She would have to walk about almost a half a mile to a well and pull up water and come home. And this woman worked faithfully year after year in winter, summer, rain, or sunshine. And she was working for no other purpose than to have her son here in the United States go through university and become a doctor. I've never seen such faithfulness, such love, such compassion. Now that is a true mother, and God blessed her. To our mothers, thank you for what you're doing. To the mothers in our Sabbath school divisions, thank you for what you're doing with our children. Thank you for the care and love you give our children. Children, thank you for having your mothers here. God bless our mothers today. Closing hymn, I couldn't find a mother's song, so I've chosen something fairly close to it. Happy the home where God is there.